will tell you, on your test study sheets, 20 is the almost absolute max. Every once in a while someone does such an impressive job, I will give them 21 or 22, but generally 20 is the max. Probably a typical good study sheet someplace between 12 and 15. On the essay ones, 10 is what I usually go to on those, although a few of you got more than that because some of you put a lot of time into that. And for the ones we have the quiz tests coming up here week after next, those study sheets are about 10 to 12 points. Okay, so that you know if you got a 15 on this one, in my opinion, you did a very credible job. Okay. Now, today's date, and let's roll. You want to write down Eastern Roman Empire. Okay, Eastern Roman Empire. In 476, the Roman Empire came to an end. Yes, yes, no. Okay. In the year 476, the Roman Empire at Rome came to an end. Let me say that again. In 476, the Roman Empire centered in Rome came to an end. When Romulus Augustulus was overthrown, no emperor stepped forward and the empire simply disintegrated. However, in the eastern capital city, at Constantinople, Istanbul, as we call it today, right here, okay? At Constantinople, there was a person to step forward and pick up the purple, pick up the mantle of being emperor. And you want to write that down, that there at Constantinople, the Roman Empire continued. Not for 100 years or 200 years, but for almost 1,000 more years. So if you go from the days of Romulus and Remus, 753 BC, and you go all the way until the last emperor at Constantinople is killed in combat defending his city, Alexis Comnenus, okay, in the year 1450, oblivious to what is coming, okay? But this man's journal has miraculously survived. They found it in a monastery, okay, where it had been kept for 1,000 years of the Middle Ages. And when you read his diary, there's almost no mention of the end. There's almost no realization there's any problems at all. Occasionally there'll be a reference. We've heard that battles are taking place on the eastern frontier. Or yesterday, Tribonius Maximus arrived at my house for a banquet and said that he had heard that the barbarians had actually penetrated the Rhine, but the implied thing is, well, that's hundreds of miles away. I don't need to worry about it. Okay? Here you have a man 90 years before the end of the Roman Empire living in a house that would put most of ours to shame. A house with central heating, a house with a heated swimming pool, a house with tennis courts, a house with a dining room the size of this room, eating meals that make most of what we look like crap. A Roman meal typically was 10 to 14 courses long. Okay? Living this very elegant lifestyle and seemingly unaware that he's like floating down a river and just about ready to go over Niagara Falls. Okay? Well, you want to write down that that world, the world of that style of life, disintegrates in the years 476, 78, 80, 81, 82. It was already beginning to unravel, but it disintegrates after that. The transportation system stops. Imagine what I-71 would look like 30 years of no maintenance. Imagine what this building would look like when this goes off for good. We're much more vulnerable than Romans were, okay? But money ceases. You might make a list of things that happen. Money ceases. There will be no more money for 1,000 years.
This is in Western Europe?
In West, yes, ma'am. Thank you. I should have stressed that. This is in Western Europe. Yes. Okay. No more money. The only money that shows up at all is money that trickles in from Eastern Europe. Okay. There's no central government. Germany, for example, disintegrates into hundreds of little states. The only country in Western Europe that is anything even vaguely like a country is France. Okay, France almost forms immediately, but in 30 years after Rome's fall, we have France. But the rest of Europe, England, for example, disintegrates into, from the province Britannia, disintegrates into a dozen little kingdoms that fight and squabble amongst each other. Okay? There is obviously no security forces. Okay? You live in constant fear that that next noise you're going to hear coming over the hill is a group of barbarians coming to plunder, etc. You have barbarian tribes circulating everywhere. I think I mentioned to you the other day, the most famous one, I love their name, okay? Even today it means something, the Vandals, okay? Imagine what you can kind of guess what they did, all right? So it's a time period, agricultural production drops, manufactured goods cease to exist. Nobody would ever dream of sailing on a boat from anywhere to anywhere if there were any boats to sail on. Okay? When we get to the Middle Ages, and then I'll take your questions. I'm just trying to get to a point, and then I'm glad to restate anything you want. There was a historian, modern historian, okay, lived into your lifetime. A man by the name of Kenneth Lord Clark. Kenneth is his first name, Lord Clark. He's a British historian, and he has a title. It's Lord Clark. Okay? Lord Clark had been the head for years of the British Broadcasting Company. Mr. Barney, I don't have your attention, please. Had been a head of the British Broadcasting Company, and he wrote voluminously in his free time. Wrote a whole series of histories, one of which was a book called Civilization. It's the history of Western civilization. It was a smash success. He was a bit of a snob, and he said anything that's that popular must not be very good. I must have screwed that book up. Okay? But despite his rather snotty attitude, the book was wildly popular about the time your parents were in school. And in the book Civilization, he describes, I think very wonderfully, the state of affairs in what was once the Roman Empire in the West. He said, in terms of all that had been accomplished by the ancient Romans and the Greeks, it survived only by, and this is his phrase, the skin of our teeth. And if you stop and think, teeth don't have skin, okay? It was a close thing. All that the Romans accomplished in the West nearly was wiped out, okay? Look at this one. Tomorrow. See you then. Mr. Bolt.